And then I don't know. Do you want to move on to the Castlevania news?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I will.
Joking, let's do it.
So on Sunday, last Sunday, Paul dropped a link in our SHIRO Discord, and I'm sure he dropped it elsewhere, to this new extended patch that he's been working on. He had previously been working on a patch of Castlevania Dracula X, Nocturne, and the Moonlight, and it was more of like enhancements, right? It was a quality of life improvements and stuff like that. It wasn't really a translation. And then this update adds several things to it. So do you want to go over what those are?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of changes to it, and it's interesting because it's going to be the third Castlevania patch.
I know.
Because like we had the one by there was some Chinese hacker that did the 4 megabyte hack for it in the map.
Okay, so
and then we had, of course,
that wasn't Medusa then. That wasn't Team Medusa. That was just a random Chinese hacker. Sorry,
a different one.
Sorry, people who we don't know your name. But yeah. So okay, that was. Then you had Night of Dragon, right? Who gave us
our very own Night of Dragon, who's in the chat right now as well.
I feel like that's where some of the confusion comes from, because there are like multiple Castlevania patches floating around the internet, and it's kind of hard to like disambiguate them all. But I know it was Night of Dragon that did I think the most significant patch was like translate the whole game, and he added a bunch of great stuff like the menu transitions and stuff like that. But yeah, okay, sorry, I totally interrupted you. So go back to the list. Tell us what we got here on Paul Metz patch.
For sure. So, and the third one, of course, is Paul Metz patch, and this one changes a couple things: the restoration of translucency on objects, English translation of some elements. So pretty much all the menus, the items I think are still in Japanese, and the dialogue is still in Japanese. So it's still kind of hard. I don't know if the moves are. I haven't done mega digging into it. They added a shortcut for the global map access. I think it's starting up now or something, or some button combination.
Yeah.
Finalization of the global map. Not 100% sure what that means, but like I said, dig into that. The most interesting one, restoration of the original proportions of some of the sprites, was really interesting because I know a lot of people were kind of. I mean, the famous the sprites are a little bit bigger and more squashed. So it looks like they were able to fix the proportions of it so it looks correct compared to the PlayStation version of it.
That had something to do with Saturn's the difference in resolution, right? I know that affected the background. I know that affected the scrolling background. The difference in resolution between the Saturn and PlayStation, but yeah, I saw that he actually replaced the costume too. Like Richter's costume in the beginning is is different.
Yeah, it's the costume that he's actually supposed to be canonically wearing in the because in the original Castlevania they use the original Symphony of the Night version. They use his Rondo of Blood costume, his sprite.
Right.
Probably just a placeholder that they forgot about, or they just kept in because they're lazy.
Right. Yeah.
But this one uses the alternate ones with the cape and the whip and everything.
Exactly. And
so it looks like the official one.
Okay, so you mentioned the access to Richter's alternate costume. You mentioned reduced loading time, and then support for the 4 meg expansion.
Yep, there's that, and of course, for those in the skipping videos and cutscenes by the start button, which I think is pretty cool as well.
It's interesting how the game. So from my perspective, you'll load the game up and it'll hang there for a while with Sonic, just hanging there, and it says caching data, right? So it's caching a bunch of data to the 4 meg expansion. And that does take a while, but it's a one-time thing. And then you've got that data on the 4 meg expansion, and it really helps during the rest of the game in terms of load times, and in just terms of how snappy the menus are and everything like that. I noticed that the transparency you were talking about, the restoration of transparency, it's different. It's definitely transparent, and it's not dithered. It's not mesh. It's not meshes.
It actually looks like a transparent.
It does look transparent,
but
but it still looks different than the transparency on PlayStation. So it does look characteristically different. but it does also arguably look better than having meshes, you know. And they were able to restore that on the dialogue boxes as well, transparency on the dialogue boxes, on the candles flickering in the background, all sorts of stuff. It's interesting though, because obviously they with the meshes and when they were designing the game to work with meshes, because that was their limitation, they kind of got it working, I guess, as well as they could, you know, and they got the art to work and look really good on what I imagine on a CRT, you know, and now that I'm seeing these candles flicker with the transparent, like the true transparency, it kind of looks a little jarring because it's like on, off, blinking on and off, and it's kind of distracting. I think maybe I need to look at it on like a consumer CRT. It might look better, but on a really sharp monitor, it kind of looks like a little overstated. But I mean, you know, I'm not nitpicking. I think it's great that he got the transparency back in there. I just noticed that it was something that looked a little interesting,
different and jarring, you know,
different. Yeah. Whereas the mesh, it's mesh, but it does a better job at kind of like, of kind of being similar to what you got on PlayStation with transparencies insofar as how it looks. But yeah, what else? Oh, we talked to Knight actually in the chat, and I'm not putting him on the spot here or saying that he's like held down to this, but he did take a look at like the difference between the files and stuff like that, and he believes that merging these patches could be a possibility, you know. And it also turns out that a lot of the things that Paul Met was working on or planned on working on were things that Knight also intended on doing, so it might actually be a good idea, you know, to just like save time and you work together or something, or merge the patches into
I mean, yeah, because I know Knight already has the translations and stuff in the game, and the scrolling translation. So I mean, that could just adding that into there, and it would probably be good to go on top of some of the other elements, because they have overlapping elements such as the removal of the menu 480i resolution switch. So there's a few differences in things that got changed out. Yeah.
There were a few things that were a little buggy, like offset, certain assets that were like offsets.
Kind of offset weirdly.
Yeah, and I think that was just Knight was just saying that was a bug, or at least he thought it was a bug. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's great. It's great news. People should feel free to download it. There's a link here that we included. It just links you to Paul Met's page, and honestly, I think that if you guys are interested in helping out, find bugs and report them to him, I'm sure he would appreciate that, because that's going to be more helpful at this point. I don't think that this is really just like, you know, totally ready to go and done. You know, he's still working on it, but this is definitely progress. And so if folks are interested in getting in there and just taking a look at it and reporting any bugs that they find back to him, I'm sure that could be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And I think overall, I'm really impressed with all these patches and all these options that we have for playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And it's just crazy how just one game has 3 different patches. Like, yeah, I don't think there's any other Saturn game that has that much variety of patching the game.
There's going to be another hot release of this. Get it? Release, you know, like a world premiere release of this on some unnamed group.
Yeah, they already dropped it. Anyways,
oh, did they?
I said, yeah, but yeah, like I said, I think this is amazing. I'm really happy for all the people involved. I think Knight's in the chat. Did you want to say anything about this patch or anything?
Let's see. Well, first of all, the first hacker is YZB.
YZB, okay, yeah.
YZB, yeah. The Paul's patch does a phenomenal job compared to that one. Like you mentioned, the 4 megabyte extension, that's all done in the beginning instead of during load times, and it actually does improve quality in game. You could see it. Outside of that, when it comes to the translation, I haven't talked to Paul about it yet, but at the bare minimum, I could probably get a supplemental patch to go where you would patch his and then patch an additional one. Like, it's not going to be just, oh, load Paul's, load mine, we're good to go. Because we both have different approaches to our quality of life improvements.
Right.
So it's not going to be a one-to-one, but from looking at it, the way he kept the code, the way that Konami keeps it, instead of having to rewrite everything like the YZB patch, I could just separate out my text patches from my quality of life patches, and then people can just pop in, choose whatever they want, choose whatever font style they want, and just go at it. But other than that, yeah, when he dropped that onto us, I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Just getting the news out there is right before Halloween, so people have something to do. Outside of that, I really don't have much to say on this. I haven't had too much time to play it, but like you guys said, it definitely helps if more people play and point out things, because the game itself is large, and I just from working on myself, I know he didn't have the time or whatever to go through every single stage and every single instance with every single character to find where things are misaligned, broken, where transparencies are goofed. So yeah, the more people he has playing it, the better this patch could be.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would love to see, and I definitely hear you. Like, you've already done some of the stuff you've done is already overlapped, you know. So it's really just a matter of finding what assets or what things that he did that could be added to yours to make, you know, like the ultimate patch, you know. Or if you just had like you're committed to a path, you know, if you're committed to a path where you're gonna just do that stuff yourself, I could understand that as well. But either way, I definitely think that we could be looking at like the Saturn version of the game going from kind of like being a redheaded stepchild to like being, hey, you know, like able to contend quite handily with the PlayStation version, you know.
Or being the definitive version.
Or being, even going so far as it being the definitive version. I don't know if I would go that far, but you know, who knows? Maybe. I don't know if it's possible to get those backgrounds, that shimmering thing or whatever. You know how like the pixels are not perfectly square, they're kind of stretched on the Saturn version. I don't know if there's ever a way to fix that, like,
I think he said he actually did fix that.
Like he did fix that. Not just with the sprites, but with with the back.
I'm pretty sure the only thing that he changed when I was talking to him, I could be wrong, but this is what I got out of it, was a lot of the portraits. Like the portrait images, they're all now the size of the PlayStation 1. But the sprites themselves are still the same size, and the backgrounds are still the same size.
Right. Yeah, and that might not be able to be helped.
That he restored the proportions of the explosion and the smoke sprites. Sprites of icons, additional weapons and hearts. So there's a couple things. So I think it's only like but he said that he restored the proportions of the sprites of trees, bushes, and grass in the background of some locations. So I think some is the keyword. So maybe it might be a thing where he's working on it. So you got some of it, but not all of it, which is fine. Yeah. Anything is better than nothing at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, every little improvement brings it that much closer to being, you know, on par with the PlayStation version or even like the definitive version. And, you know, I love to see that. But yeah, Shadow Mask is saying it would be awesome to see a proper integer scale. I agree, you know, but that just might not be possible due to the discrepancy in resolutions. Since it was like ported over. But yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, go check this out. Go check out this patch from Team Medusa. Paul, is he just doing this as Paul Met or as Team Medusa?
He released as Team Medusa.
Always. Okay, yeah. So Medusa team or whatever. Go check it out and enjoy it, and let us know what you think.